The Godfather Part II is an amazing sequel and an amazing movie on its own, but it also serves as a prequel to the first Godfather movie. Throughout the film, we see Michael Corleone, the Don of the Corleone family, on his mission to stop those who wronged him and try to assassinate him at the beginning of the movie. One of the people who Michael feels did him wrong and betrayed him was his own brother Fredo, and this ultimately leads to his unfortunate end when Michael has him killed at the end of the movie. But did Fredo really deserve to be killed, or did Michael go too far this time? Now, I'm going to say it right now. I feel like there were alternate options to what Michael could have done with Fredo, but having him killed, having his own brother killed, I feel like that was a step way too far and an awful thing to do. Now, let me provide some context for this. So to give some context, Fredo Corleone is the second oldest brother of the three brothers. There's Sonny, who is the oldest one. He's primarily in the first movie. And then there's the youngest of the three, who is Michael, and he's the one who ends up becoming the Don at the end of the first movie. Now, this makes Fredo seem unimportant since he never really does anything major for the family or really provides much value, and he was essentially an errand boy. It also doesn't help that in the first Godfather, Fredo tries to defend Mo Green, who is basically one of Michael's rivals in that movie. And Michael has to tell Fredo, like, hey, don't ever take sides against the family again. And that comes into play when it comes to Fredo's betrayal and why Michael has him killed at the end of part 2. So at some point before the second movie begins, Johnny Ola runs into Fredo and offers him some business of his own if he can help him and Hyman Roth make negotiations easier between them and Michael on this big deal that they're all a part of. And Fredo blindly and naively accepts this deal only because of the fact that Johnny Ola offered him to give him something that he could just run completely on his own, which is something that Fredo always wanted, considering that he felt like he was stepped over. Now, it's implied that Fredo also gives them some kind of information. What this information is never stated in the movie. A lot of people like to think that Fredo provided information about the compound in Lake Tahoe that Michael lives in, but I don't believe this to be true. Simply because if Fredo did give out some kind of layout information about the compound so that the assassins could do the job, then that would imply that he did know about the hit, which I don't think he did, and I'll explain why in a little bit.
Make away, the drape's open.
Michael finds out that Fredo was a traitor of the family when they're in Cuba, and he asks Fredo if he ever met Johnny Ola, to which Fredo says no. And then later on, when they go to this live dance show performance, Johnny Ola is there, and Michael introduces Fredo to him, and they pretend to not know each other here, which they obviously do know each other, and Michael is just patiently waiting for one of them to slip up so he can confirm that Fredo was the traitor. Now, later on in the night, Fredo gets intoxicated while they're at this other performance. Then when the senator asks Fredo, hey, how do you know about this place? Fredo just out loud casually says, Johnny Ola showed me this place, which contradicts what he said earlier to Michael that he did not know him. And this is when Michael figures out that Fredo is the traitor, and he just looks devastated here. And he actually confronts Fredo about this in a later scene when they're celebrating the New Year in Cuba.
There's a plane waiting for us to take us to Miami in an hour, all right? Don't make a big thing about it. I know it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart. You broke my heart.
At the end of the day, Fredo just doesn't come off as the kind of person to have his own brother killed for power and respect. Yes, he very desperately wanted these things, but he just would not go that far. It would be way out of character. He would not do it, in my opinion. He was just being used by Hyman Roth and Johnny Ola. Their ultimate goal was to have Michael eliminated. That was their goal, but not Fredo. Fredo was just being used. Hyman Roth wanted to not only eliminate his competition, but take revenge for Mo Green, because him and Mo Green were friends and business partners at some point, and Michael had him killed at the end of the first movie. So that would mean that not only would he be taking revenge for his friend, he would be eliminating the competition and the head of the Corleone family. And who better to use against Michael than his own brother Fredo? I mean, it's just a beautiful plan. And Fredo got caught up in the mix, and unfortunately, Michael felt the need to have him assassinated. Another thing I wanted to add is that if Johnny Ola had approached Fredo and said, hey, we're going to kill your brother, but there will be something in it for you if you help us out. That is not what he told Fredo, because if he had told Fredo that, he would have showed his hand, he would have told him what was really about to happen, and Fredo would not have accepted that kind of deal. Why? Because, again, he is not that cold or ruthless. Also, when Ola calls Fredo in the middle of the night, Fredo tells him, you guys have gotten me deep enough already. You guys lied to me. Now, again, it's not explicitly said what this lie is that Fredo is referring to, but I feel like the lie in question is the fact that they were going to kill Michael. And Fredo did not know this, of course, so he feels like he was lied to, and he feels like he's screwed now because of the fact that he was dealing with these guys. I know throughout this video I've been defending Fredo a lot, but he still went behind Michael's back. He still deserved to be punished to some extent. What could have this punishment been? Well, Michael could have just stuck with banishing Fredo from the family, exiling him completely, not letting him near the hotels, the casinos, his house, the nightclubs, not letting him run any of that, and just letting him live. Even though he was a liability, banishing him and never seeing him again was a better alternative. And the only reason Michael had him killed was because of the fact that their mother passed away. He waited until their mother passed away after the funeral to have him killed, but he could have just left him alone and just never seen him again.
You're nothing to me now. You're not a brother. You're not a friend. I don't want to know you or what you do. I don't want to see you at the hotels. I don't want you near my house. When you see our mother, I want to know a day in advance so I won't be there.
Something I was thinking about while making this video was, how would have Vito handled this situation if his own son had betrayed him and gone behind his back? How would have Vito handled this? Now, of course, being Fredo's father, Vito would not have his own son murdered. That is just not how Vito is. Michael is that heartless and cold, and that's just the way that he becomes. But Vito would have never even considered this, given that it's an insane idea to have your own son killed. Now, obviously, he would have been angry and disappointed with Fredo to some degree, so he probably would have done what I think Michael should have done with Fredo, exiling him, not letting him run anything. Now, of course, being Vito, he probably would have forgiven Fredo after some point, but another thing I was thinking about was, if Vito was still alive in part 2, how would he have advised Michael to proceed with Fredo? Now, again, he wouldn't order one of his sons to have the other son killed. Obviously, their family, you just don't do that. Vito would have never even considered it. And yeah, so I feel like Vito would have just told Michael, don't let him near any of the business. Don't let him near your house, probably. Just exile him completely. And that would have worked out fine. That would have been perfect if Vito was still alive and advising Michael. Michael ordering the killing of his own blood brother from a filmmaking perspective is just genius and brilliant storytelling, right? But from within the story, within the character of Michael Corleone, This is just the most evil and appalling and just monstrous thing he has ever done. And by the end of the movie, this last shot of Michael here, you just see this, the soulless man he has become. But if you guys have seen these movies, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Did Fredo deserve to be killed, or did Michael go just way too far this time? I do have a video coming out about both Godfather films next, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see y'all later.